We are here today in this segment with Heather LaVere. She is the Chief Operating Officer of Rocket. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your Rocket journey?
Sure. So, well, welcome everyone. This is an incredible event, and just a huge thank you to the team, Dan, to yourself, and just for the vision here. But I've been at the organization for almost 23 years. I started out as a loan processor, really didn't know much about mortgage except for that I had to pay one. And 23 years later, I have the incredible honor of leading a tremendous amount of the Rocket team. And through my travels at Rocket, I started out as the processor, and then I moved over to our Mousetrap team, which was our process improvement team that Dan Gilbert had started. He asked me to join the team for 3 weeks, and I ended up staying for 5 years. So it's much longer than anticipated. After that, we started our business development team in 2008. What a perfect time to start a business development team, right in the middle of mortgage meltdown. So we did that. We worked with a lot of hedge funds, banks, and then we signed our Schwab partnership. And that is a partnership that still exists till this day. We signed that many, many years ago, and we're really excited for them to continue to be a partner of ours. And then shortly after that, I started our client experience team. It had about 400 folks. And then fast forward a little bit here to March of 24, and we kicked off our experience vertical, which is the team that I lead today. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I'm just really excited to be here, really excited to support each and every one of you as we go on our journey. You know, what we were and who we were 10 years ago is very different than who we are today, and I hope that you're seeing that.
So Heather and I work very closely on the Rocket Pro business together, obviously, and let's talk a little bit about the experience vertical, because Rocket wasn't always organized that way. So why did you see that as an opportunity?
Sure. So when Varun came in, and I know he mentioned the blueprint this morning, we were talking about, you know, how do we write the next chapter? You know, it was really about org follow strategy, and it became very clear that our strategy was that we needed to be one team. And one team meaning, in the past we had banking and then we had operations. And as many of you know, sometimes it's like oil and water, but sometimes it can be a beautiful thing when you bring it together. And so we made that jump, we made that leap to put all of mortgage banking, our operations teams, our center of excellence, and all of our scheduling and things of that sort, in addition to Rocket Close, which is our title company, all under my leadership. And you know, one of the things that people will say is like, oh, well, we could have been working together before, but it's just different. When all of our leaders are focused on the right things, the mindset is the same, it's really incredible what we can accomplish. And I really think that we've done a tremendous job of bringing our teams together and having some of that tough conversation and that real talk, and it's made us better. And I know for a fact that having all of us together from a pro perspective, we've been able to focus on the things that you've wanted us to focus on the most, and execute on that over the last 18 months. And the next 6 months are gonna be incredible when we apply some of the things that we're doing with AI and some of the things that you've seen today and some of the things that you'll see later this afternoon.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, it's interesting, when you go into our partners' shops and you see how they work, it's essentially sales and operations are sitting right next to each other, right? There's no different groups and you have to wait and call somebody, right? So I think it's been really nice to see over the last year all the benefits that this alignment has provided. So that's great. So we talked with Varun, right? We just heard from Jonathan. You just told about your story. You've been here over 20 years. How has it been from your perspective having new people, including myself, who didn't grow up at Rocket, kind of come into the team and integrate?
Yeah, I think it's been amazing. You know, a lot of us have grown up inside of our four walls, and you don't know what you don't know. And opening up our minds has really allowed us to advance, really has allowed us to write that next chapter. But you also have to be open, right? You know, and so we had some leaders that just weren't willing to change, and I'm here for it. The things that we're executing on now, Sean Malhotra, you know, he leads our technology team, Jamie Belsky, who leads our product team. you give them an opportunity or a problem that you're trying to solve, and I swear to you, within 36 hours, they're like, what about this? And you're like, where's that been? We've been waiting for 6 months, 9 months, 2 years for something like that. And so it's been incredible to bring the outside talent into Rocket and really have them level us up. And sometimes that's hard for a leadership team to be open to, but we're all getting better together. And so there's no egos. We're just checking those at the door, and however we can help each other. And then, of course, for the newbies coming in, we have to teach them the mortgage industry because many of them are not coming from the mortgage industry. Right. So that's a plus that they haven't come from the mortgage industry, but they also need to understand our business and why it matters. Yeah. So it's super important to have both of us coming together to make a really well-rounded leadership team.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm lucky I get to experience it. So let's talk about that knowledge, that mortgage knowledge, because, part of this segment is about market shifts, right? And, you and I live this every day. We wake up in the morning, we see where rates are, we try to figure it all out, right? So you've been through this for a really long time, multiple market segments. Where do you see the opportunity for brokers in this market over the next year or two? How do you see that evolving given where we are with interest rates and housing market and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, there's no crystal ball, as all of us are aware and know. But if you think of rates staying close to where they are or maybe going down a little bit, the beauty of the broker is just being local. And that purchase market is so much easier to attain, and the relationships that you need to build. And I know, Dan, this is something that you have really focused on the last year, is like, how do we bring our power of Rocket to the broker community when rates stay a little bit higher? And when they're low, let's get those refis in and get them out and move forward and support you the best way possible. And I think if you haven't seen some of the tools already, what we're trying to launch for you is to make that easier. And I think, when you think about the interest rate, like we can, focus on that, or we can just focus on what we're trying to do, which is help everyone home. And we can't do that as a mission without your help. And I think that's the most important thing, because we could, go on and obsess over rates and if it's going to move, if it's not going to move. But the broker community has proven that it doesn't matter, that we're still going to move forward and we're still going to get folks to own their dream, which I know Jonathan spoke a little bit about as well. But that's the key thing, is we can weather any storm. Many of you have been in the business for a very long time, and some of you are just in the business. But Rocket just celebrated our 40th anniversary. And it started with 3 guys in a shop in Michigan. And here we are, a national lender and about to get even bigger with our acquisition. So anything is possible, as long as we don't allow the rates to be our noise, and we just really ignore the noise.
Yeah, I love the story about Rocket. When I explain to people the Rocket story, I say it's basically like if the local laundromat across the street became the biggest laundromat in the world. That's what it is, right? And it's interesting though, because that's the opportunity that you all have, right? We've seen some amazing growth stories with our partners, and we're so appreciative to get to grow with you guys. And what Heather's really brought to the table, I think from an operational expertise perspective, is just this understanding of what you just mentioned. If we bring it to the table and we can't get it closed and we can't get it underwritten, what's the point, right? So having those two things together really puts you in a place where you're incentivized for both of those things to work and work closely together, right? And so I think it's been a really good move, and we've seen a lot of success in the past year for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit. You took on yet another new role this year.
Yes.
And when Varun went out and dropped 10, 12 billion on a couple little companies, you were given the opportunity to essentially run those integrations.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. We have a little picture to put up on the flywheel.
So it has been an incredible 6 months, to say the least. It has been fast and furious. Obviously there's not many companies that buy one public company in a period of time, but let's announce 2 in 30 days. Why not? And so we did that, and I was asked to be the integration executive for our Mr. Cooper integration. And when you think about Redfin and you think about Mr. Cooper, there's really two things that are happening here. One is an accelerator, which is Redfin, and really having all of those users be able to understand the Rocket ecosystem. But the second piece of Mr. Cooper is really that integration and making sure that we can have all of our clients, as we collectively come together, be part of the Rocket experience. And so that's what we're really excited about. What you're seeing behind you here is just really how we think about the full gamut of everything that has to come together in order for us to really maximize on these acquisitions. And we're looking to do some good things here in the fourth quarter that we've already talked about with Mr. Cooper. But when you think about being able to be responsible for 1 out of every 6 mortgages in America, it's a huge lift. And the one thing that we want to make sure of is that there's no disruption to the client. And we've spent the last 6 months really honing in on every detail, because Mr. Cooper truly is an integration. We both have origination teams, we both have servicing teams. How do we bring the best together in order to make sure that we're following our mission? And that has been key to the success. But also staying in my role as COO has been very important, because as the market has shifted, as things have changed, we have to make sure that we're thinking about that for the integration, because we cannot skip a beat. Obviously, and when the Fed just announced the rate, is there going to be another one? How do we react to that? How do we react with having so many more clients that potentially could benefit from that? And how do we leverage it? How do we leverage all of the leads that are coming in, and as you talk about, giving some of those leads out to all of you to be able to maximize and close more loans, gain more market share together. And that's really how we're thinking about it. So super excited for what's to come. Hopefully we're going to have a closing here in the fourth quarter, and 2026 will be off to the races. And we couldn't be more excited and more proud. Definitely tired, but it's part of doing what we do best. And when you do well by doing good, and that's how we feel like bringing all of this together is going to really maximize how we think about the market.
Love that. And when you think about the opportunities, we've touched on it a couple times today, but when I first came to Rocket, I remember we had some early conversations, and I'm like, why aren't we we're the best servicer in the world. Why aren't we servicing on behalf of our partners? And lead flow, we're so good at this. Why aren't we doing this? And what I loved was you guys kind of gave me the space to work through that and iterate on some of that stuff, and let's relitigate and see if it's right. And then these two transactions are like that whole story coming together, right?
That's right.
So we're going to be doing a lot of piloting and a lot of exploring, but like it was phase 1, let's bring these companies together. And then phase 2, we have this saying, one of our isms is launch and learn, which is let's go figure out how to make this work, right? So not a ton of people know this, but we've delivered over 60,000 leads to our partners over the last couple months, right? Yeah. There's no other companies really doing that at scale. And we're trying to figure out what's the right way to do that? How do we do it with technology? What do we learn about it? How do people convert these leads and understand these leads? And I think when you think about servicing and then creating that flywheel, now you have a whole new paradigm, right? And what's really important for this room to understand, because multiple of us have said it, is you're a part of that. That's not a closed ecosystem, that's an open ecosystem. And so I think once you take that and you supercharge all these areas with AI, whether it's on the top of the funnel with lead flow, within the operation, on the servicing book, this business is going to look entirely different.
And it opens us up. These acquisitions opens us up to do more,
yeah.
Right? Why build some of the white label, private label servicing in our system if Mr. Cooper already has that, right? And so how do we just allow that to come to fruition in a very short period of time versus having to build it all out, understand it, move forward, and then just they do things a little bit differently, right? Correspondent, co-issue, there's a lot that goes on that we don't currently do today that just adds to the power of what we're going to be able to deliver on for each and every one of you and our clients.
Yeah, so I think that leads into promise number 9, okay? We grow the whole pie, not just our slice, right? So maybe just touch on, it's pretty obvious, but like, that's what this is about, right? We're making these promises and then we're doing these things. And maybe Varun has a say-do ratio, right? And like, how do we think about that?
Yeah, he's batting 1,000, I'll tell you that right now. He came in and said, we were gonna build the next chapter together, we were gonna set the strategy and we were gonna execute on that. And, purchase to the core was one of those things, getting closer to the agent. Great, go buy Redfin. Gaining market share, making sure that we have the most important clients in our servicing book, making sure that we can open up to do different things for our clients and our partners in the servicing book by Mr. Cooper, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we think about that, the market is huge, right?
It's giant.
There's no reason for us to fight over it because there's enough for everyone. But what we want to make sure of is that you have a seat at the table. You have a piece of what it is that we're doing together. And it comes from loyalty. It comes from us really making true to our promises, right? When we say that we're going to do things, we have to do them. And that is something that when Varun came in 2 years ago, it was the say-do ratio. And you hear us talk a lot about that. And sometimes we're at 50%, sometimes we're at 75, and sometimes we're at 100 or more. But we just have to make sure that we're focused on delivering what matters most. And I think in the past, we used to chase the sparkle squirrel, I would call it. Oh, this partner wants this thing, we need to have that thing. But it doesn't really apply to everyone. And so how can we roll out tools? How can we really bring processes in that will make it much easier for you? Put the tools in your hand. Very often we'd like, oh no, we'll do that for them. And it's like, well, no, they actually want to do it. Let's give them the capability. And I know our product team with Kevin and Matt Baldwin, like they're really focused on making sure that what we're putting in your hands is making it much more efficient for you to be able to help that next client. And I can't say that we've always done that in the past. Sometimes we just wanted to do cool technology for cool technology's sake, but it didn't really matter. And so Rocket Assist, some of the stuff we've done in Pathfinder, automating some of the functions in operations. I will tell you, we are, by the end of October, 80% of our appraisal reviews will have no touch. So that saves time right there. We are automating title review. That saves a huge amount of time. The CD balancing, that is something that we'll have in the fourth quarter, that we're just taking all the information, applying it in the system, and moving it forward. So you're going to start to see something that maybe takes a day or two or less really get down to within minutes. And a lot of that happens because we're launching and learning. We're putting it out there, we're testing it. Oh, okay, we bump in the road here, we're going to pull it back, we're going to make that modification. But the speed at which we are able to execute now is faster than I've ever seen. 60% of all income that is not self-employed is automated, does not see an underwriter. Assets, 45%. That is not something we had a year ago. And so if you think about rates going down, maybe going into a little bit of a mini refi, let's go. Because we're ready, because all of the key components we are building and we will have walking into 26 that scale us like we've never scaled before. So that's my challenge to all of you, is bring it, and we will get it to the closing table for you.
That's the beauty of having, kind of sales and operations in one thing, because every time I ask for something, Heather says, well, we better get the deals. You better bring in the business if we go and do all this work, And that's the way it should work, right? Because it helps you really prioritize what's important. So I would say the past 60 days has been really exciting because a lot of the things we've been working on have been coming to fruition, right? All the ability to do all the loan edits, right? It's this combination of allowing you guys to do as much of the work as possible while also trying to move the entire process through as quickly as possible and get the client closed and happy as quickly as possible, right? So it's been great. Okay, let's do one last question. So what's the biggest thing you've learned about the broker community now that you've been more closely involved over the past 12, 18, 24 months maybe?
I think the one thing is the care. I am someone who leads from the heart, and I see it. I see it in the responses. I see it in the appreciation. I have the ability to be on email chains and see when we're performing really well. But also the other thing is that you're super vocal, and we love it. We want the feedback. We can't always deliver on everything, but if we don't know how you're feeling, we can't fix it. And so I do love that about the broker community. And sometimes it can be frustrating, but at the same time, it just makes us better. And we have to be willing to have an open mind. We have to have that intestinal fortitude to work through some of that to make sure that we're delivering for you. And don't stop giving us feedback. And we'll tell you, yes, that's something we can absolutely do. No, it is not something we can do, but let's just have an understanding. And being fiercely loyal. That's another thing is, with bringing Redfin on, we're trying to figure things out. So just please know we're trying to figure things out. But I've been working with a Redfin agent for years. I want to continue to work with them. How can we do that together? And so that the loyalty and the care and just being vocal, I think is the only way that we're going to continue to strengthen Rocket Pro with each and every one of you as we move forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that maybe the final takeaway for you guys is like, we're not satisfied, right? We're like, I love the term, humble and hungry, right? Which is like, we want to do more. We're going to keep doing more. We're kind of just at the beginning. And so the feedback is really important, to your point. And you guys are great about delivering that.
Yeah, and I just think the other thing is, sometimes we have a saying inside of Rocket, and Mr. Emerson has always, kind of mentioned this in tough situations. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? And I think right now, we just want you to be happy. Sometimes it's okay not to be, right. We just want you to be happy, and we want you to feel that we hear you and that we're going to move forward together. And so we ask ourselves that a lot. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Yeah. Can we just be happy, right? And as we move forward, things will get better as we go together. But that is our commitment. And as someone that's responsible for leading these teams to the future and through the future of AI and market shifts and everything else, our people really value the relationships that you have with them. And it comes through each and every day in when they're going to bat for you as well. So please know that our teams love you. They love being partnered up with you. And we just appreciate the support.
Well, thank you so much, Heather. Really appreciate the time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.